OG Saw fans, it is time to rise up. We are done eating in the dirt, because it looks like we finally have another good Saw movie. The trailer for Saw X has landed online, a movie that works as both a sequel and a prequel. I'm going to be breaking down the trailer for you guys, telling you my reaction to it, why you should actually be excited for this Saw movie, even if you're someone who was like me, kind of burnt out on the franchise, along with Easter eggs and details, really everything you'll need to know to be ready for Saw X. Alright, so right off the top, just giving you my general reaction to the trailer itself, I freaking love this trailer. I am an OG Saw fan that would go to the theater every year back when they were making Saw movies a year apart from one another every Halloween. It would be a tradition that I do with my dad. I love this franchise, but recently with the last like 4 to 3 movies they came out with, we were struggling as Saw fans. There's definitely some enjoyment to be had in these last sequels, but they have never reached that height, that adrenaline rush feeling you would get with the early Saw sequels where you were like, damn, this franchise is crazy. So honestly, I wasn't even excited for Saw X when they announced it, even with them confirming John Kramer would be coming back. But this premise and trailer for the movie really won me over. I even like the song choice in here. I have that feeling I did as a kid being excited for a Saw movie. But okay, timeline-wise, Saw X takes place between the events of Saw 1 and Saw 2. This is how John Kramer is able to come back for this sequel, because if you were a fan of the franchise, you'll know John technically died at the end of Saw 3, even though the series would continue to give us flashbacks to John before he died in that movie. The trailer was shown during a horror convention, Midsummer Scream, and the creative team behind the film want to make it very clear that you don't really need to know anything about any previous Saw film to watch and understand this one. It is actually going to be tailor-made for someone who's never seen a Saw movie. But that doesn't mean OG fans are not going to find things in here to absolutely love about it. So the premise this time around will be about Jigsaw, John Kramer, who finds out about an experimental treatment that can possibly cure his cancer in Mexico. Unfortunately, when he gets to Mexico and pays $250,000, at least that's what we see here on a board, along with other victims that have fallen to this scam, he'll find out that they actually never performed any kind of surgery on him and just took his money. And these scammers picked the wrong person to mess with, because now Jigsaw is gonna make sure you pay for your crimes. I've already seen some fan backlash questioning this premise, going, man, but who are we supposed to root for? Jigsaw is the serial killer, and these people are horrible for scamming sick people. But if you've watched Saw, that's actually the whole point. Jigsaw specifically targets crappy people. Don't forget, Jigsaw's origin story is that he was diagnosed with cancer, giving up on his life, didn't want to continue until a car accident forced him to put himself in a situation where he had to choose either to live or die, and he chose to live. Through that situation, he found new purpose and meaning for his life, so now he's dedicated himself to doing that for others who take their lives for granted. And in the trailer, we get to see every single individual part of this scam that is now going to be tortured. Like the doctor who recommended this treatment to Jigsaw, the one person that lied and said this treatment actually cured them, along with a couple of other fake doctors that were pretending to perform surgery on John Kramer. If you want to know specifically what some of these traps in the movie are going to do, during the horror convention at Midsummer Scream, they did reveal the details. For one, the trap that is shown in the posters of some guy having tubes placed right on his eyes, it was revealed that this trap will be about someone either having to choose between breaking every single one of their fingers or letting those tubes suck out your eyeballs. And we do get to see split seconds of each one of his fingers breaking before the time runs out. I already mentioned the easiest way to get out of this. I'd just take the tubes out and let them suck somewhere else.
What did he say?
The next trap we have here is called brain surgery. They did have it on display at the horror convention, and they even said the person inside the chair is named Mateo. Since this was a doctor that was pretending to be able to perform brain surgery, their trap will be about having to perform brain surgery on themselves, cutting off a piece of their head that is heavy enough to stop the trap that he's in. Already, all of these sound like sadistic, crazy, classic Saw traps, and the thing that makes a Saw trap good is if you can survive it. That was one of the annoying parts later on in the Saw franchise, but there was a reason for it, where some of the traps were just unwinnable, where no matter what you did, no matter how hard you try, you would still most likely die at the end of the trap. A good Saw trap is supposed to give you the ability to let you survive at the end so that you become someone who's been rehabilitated and found new appreciation for their life. And if you're someone who believes that would never work on somebody, oh, do I got a surprise cameo for you. By the end of the trailer, we get to see a familiar Saw character returning for this movie, Amanda Young. Played by Shawnee Smith, she was a popular character early on in the Saw franchise. She was one of the early victims in the first film where she was in the reverse bear trap. She survived her game mainly because she didn't have to really perform any harm on herself. She just had to dig the key out of somebody else, which if you look at some other traps later on in the series, she actually got a pretty easy one. But it was because of her surviving this trap and finding new love for her life that she becomes an apprentice to Jigsaw and follows along with preparing the rest of his traps. She's a vital character in Saw 2, and here it looks like she'll be donning the infamous pig mask, rounding up all the fake doctors to put them in this trap. And even though I joke that she has a cameo in here, again, at the horror convention, they mentioned her role is pretty big. And I'm kind of really excited to see Jigsaw and Amanda working side by side, but if you've kept up with the franchise, you know by Saw 3, Amanda really isn't that rehabilitated. Other longtime Saw fans might also be wondering, will we see Dr. Gordon? That was a person who survived the events of the first Saw movie, and it wasn't revealed until the end of the franchise in Saw 7 that they also became an apprentice to Jigsaw, learned from his teachings, and were actually helping him the entire way, performing more of the medical traps. It'd be kind of cool to see Dr. Gordon pop up in here, but just don't bring up any more apprentices, okay? That was like a recurring thing in the franchise. Every other movie we'd find out of a secret apprentice that Jigsaw trained. Don't you train a Mexican apprentice now. They also wanted to make it clear in the horror convention that they specifically want Saw X to look the way earlier Saw films did, and I am so happy to hear that. While I thought Spiral from the Book of Saw actually looked pretty good cinematography-wise, Jigsaw is one of the worst looking Saw movies that's been out there. Really did not love the cinematography in Jigsaw, and here, yeah, they're going back to some of those greens, blues, and dirty oranges. Another sneaky thing you might have noticed in the trailer is we do get a moment of the infamous bathroom from the first Saw movie that shows up repeatedly throughout the series. It looks like we have it being used again here, with somebody possibly hanging themselves and the dead body of Adam, the victim of the first movie. Aside from that though, everything else about this trailer looks great. We can slow down and zoom in on some of these other traps, but I kind of want to be a little bit surprised here. I'm also curious about how the ending of this movie will play out, because someone at the horror convention asked the creators, will this movie answer any unanswered questions that we had about the end of the franchise? And they said yes. So even though this is a prequel, there could be a couple of things in here that might set up a future movie or what else they could do with this franchise. So yeah, I am hooked in. I am excited for another Saw movie. Feels like a long time since I've been this excited for one. Hopefully it delivers on a promise of being a really good film and they can continue to maybe make more movies, because we know this boy ain't stopping anytime soon. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the Saw X trailer, some things you might have caught that I might have missed, and your theories for the ending of this or how it could connect to later movies. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.